Good evening and welcome to Letters from the Light Side. My name is Annie Conboy. I'm a medium and psychic, and I'm here in my art room in my creative space, messy as it is this evening, to bring you the Letter from the Light Side for the 12th of August 2021. It's a channeled message from my guides and inspirers. It isn't individual personal messages, but I hope that what the guides talk about can help you. You can take something personal from it and something that will have meaning for you. So, as I've been waiting, I've just been sitting here doing a little bit of my creative work and thinking about the week we've just had. We've had a new moon, which for me always means being in the Wide Awake Club. We've also had the Lionsgate portal being very, very active and now beginning to shut down and the energy to fade away. And you might be wondering to yourself, well, we've had this portal, why didn't I feel any different? Why didn't I get a boost of energy? There were energy boosts coming in, but I also feel that one of the things that we have to kind of understand about energy is even though it all pours in, it comes up against the resistance of the energy we've already got, the energy we're working in. So sometimes it can be hard to get that lovely positive flow because it's coming through thick layers of heavier energy. And I guess I learned this lesson with my guides. Sorry, Rhys, just tickling me on the back of the neck so easier. Oh, excuse me. I think I know who's coming in next. One of the things that you find with your guides when you're trying to connect with them is that they kind of wander in and out, or they may seem like they're there and then they're not there, and so you go, oh right, I want to talk to you, I want to know you're there. And you do all sorts of things like meditations, and you sit and say, I'm sitting here waiting for you to speak to me. And some days it's just not happening. And sometimes it's just not happening. Or you get a tiny little bit and then you think, oh, well, what's the use of that? I want some more. And it's because they're having to connect through the energy that's in us and around us. And I know that if I'm in angry energy, say I'm angry or I've been dealing with angry people, it's not a good time to sit and go, right, come in and talk to me, because I know they won't. So one of the things I have to do when I'm doing these broadcasts is exactly what I would do if I was going to give somebody a message or if I was going to do an intuitive piece of art. I would have to steady my energy, get in the zone, and allow the connections, the energy connections to happen. And it's been a bit like that this week. Some days the energy's, whoa, it's been buzzing in. Other days it's been slow or not existent. So you might have found yourself going from a really active day to a really flat day, and then another really active hour and a flat 3 hours, and kind of just trying to get into the flow and balance of the energy. And it can be really frustrating. You can go, oh, I've got all these things I want to do, but the energy's flat. You might want to be creative. You're ready, you've got all your paints and everything's down there, or you're writing. I've been writing a book, and I'm there at the keyboard, but the energy's flat. And because I write from channeling as well as from myself, if the energy's flat, then I'm a bit, okay, plod. If I'm in that connection, if I've got that lovely flow of energy, then yes, I can zoom ahead. And this is where kind of understanding this and then saying to your guide, I might need a boost, or can you give me a bit extra? understanding that you are not going to be able to make the strongest connections if you just come out of a difficult or challenging conversation or situation. Heck, the whole world is in a challenging environment at the moment. And I live stream on Facebook and YouTube, and every week I'm keeping my fingers crossed it all works, because we've got this surrounding energy that the guides have to come in through what's going on for us in order to make the connection. So they try and bring me, Rafe's job is to bring me into that sort of peaceful state of mind. So I've been busy colouring in. Because I find that if somebody says to me, right, Annie, meditate, I go, and then I go, oh, my mind, I don't, and thousands of thoughts fly in. Took me many years to get into being able to suspend my ego mind well enough to be able to get into that meditative state. But what I do find, and I'm sure you'll do the same, I might be washing up and my mind's just in idle and my guides come in. I might be doing a bit of colouring in or working on a piece, freehand. My guides will come in. I might be going for a walk and I'm just plodding along, looking at the leaves, and all of a sudden the conversation with my guides is happening. And this is what you hopefully will be starting to experience or having experience of if you're interested in developing your intuition. But it's also recognising that you start to tune into what is the energy of the day. Now, I've got Ethelial here. He's been waiting for me to get the introduction over. Archangel Archangel Ethelial's very keen to speak to you. So I'm going to let fly in a moment. I just need to say that he's one of the Earth's guardian angels, and he's here and helping us in this really difficult time. And what Ethelial wants to bring forward is the energy of this past week and the recognition that we've been on a roller coaster ride ever since 2012, really. Ever since we ended that phase and stepped into wanting to improve as human beings and wanting to improve in a different way than we had before. And Ethelial wants to recognise that this energy is very much, if using my word, discombobulating. And this week that's just gone past, with all the extra energies flying around, may have felt truly discombobulating. You may have found that you want to create. You may have had loads and loads of new ideas. You may also have had times when you felt stuck, felt really lost. It's all part of what's going on underneath, and Ethelial wants us to recognise what's going on underneath. Ethelial is asking you to think about how you are in the world, how you are to yourself and how you are to others, because this is the greatest challenge we face right now, is recognising how we are to ourselves and each other, and whether we come at living through unconditional love, unconditional forgiveness, unconditional gratitude and unconditional service. And it's important to start to recognise that when you're frightened, the natural reaction that most human beings have, the trained reaction, is to lash out at ourselves or lash out at others, to tell ourselves we're not good enough, we're not doing enough, we're not worthy of approval, and to tell others they're not good enough, they're not doing enough, that they're the fault, they're the reason it's all wrong, and take on that ourselves and say I'm the reason it's all wrong, and to get aggressively angry and get judgmental and lose sight of the fact that we have a common shared inheritance, and to drive forward division The fear is driving division. So we're not pausing and thinking what would be best for me and what would be best for others. We're shouting our corner. He says the whole world is full of shouting at the minute. Everybody's shouting, trying to shout louder than the other person. And the reality is that when everybody's shouting, nothing gets heard, nothing gets resolved. We don't deal with the fear, we just stay living in the fear. And we don't all have to have the same mindset. We don't all have to believe or think the same way. And we don't have to have the same values. However, what we do have to recognise is our inherent humanity, that underneath the skin, in between of soul and human exterior, of spirit and human exterior, it's all the same. And so we have to start recognizing what is the same. And the way that we can use the extra positive, loving energy is to start using it to apply to ourselves, to unite, not to divide. Unite ourselves. Understand that the fear is actually all in your head. There is nothing to fear. And I understand, because he's had many talks with me, what he means by that. With fear not existing. And yet we will always exist. We are eternal spirit. This bit of life that we think we've got is only, it's not the whole thing. And Ateliel wishes you understood this is not the be all and end all, because we would stop being frightened. We would start to recognise that what is important is to live the best that we can towards ourselves and towards others, and to stop the shouting and angry, aggressive violence, and start to find that peaceful recognition that we're here for a blip, a momentary time. He says, all of the visionaries, all of the people who we equate with the divine, trying to explain to us this is a brief flash of time, and time is human. In reality, we've got an eternal life, and it's that that's important. It's how we evolve as spirit that's important. But spirit evolution is helped by living a best life, by embracing what we can that is helpful and loving, and understanding there is no need to fear ceasing to exist. If we stopped fearing the ceasing to exist, what we would find is we'd talk, we'd relate, we'd have more compassion. Compassion can only come when we're compassionate to ourselves, when we understand that we aren't children. We're still reacting like children, like angry toddlers and teenagers, wanting to rebel, finding the other to kick against and to push against. And yet that other is the battle inside of us. It's not external. And this energy that's coming through the Lion's Gate, as it fades back, don't forget it's still there to be used, to be grabbed as it floats past, as it gets through all of the heavier energy, and the golden beams of light get to you. And use it, turn it back on itself. Use it as the kickstart to create what is right for you. And what is right for humanity is not to have the fear that we currently have, not to think that if we don't shout loud, we've stopped existing. A key part of my work with Ateliel, let's just step back a second to let me speak. A key part of my work with Ateliel has been to listen, to learn to listen. And actually, to learn to believe. I did test him. I did say, well, if you're going to be a voice in my head, I want to know that you're reliable. And I did ask him to send me evidence over and over and over again, because I was a doubter and a little bit fearful about what it would mean if I let this voice, this influence, come into my head. And that's why I so love some of the kind of memes that say, oh, I think I hear voices in my head. Well, yeah. Yeah, I do. But the voices I've let in, and the voices that are very positive, and the voices that I have evidenced for myself to my satisfaction. Now, if that makes me something that people want to describe as fearful, as having some sort of mental health condition that's to be feared, so be it. It doesn't. I'm not frightened, and I love hearing these voices in my head, and especially when I let myself go into that meditative state and just allow their influence to come through. And this is the step forward for this Lionsgate energy. Enough energy to help us to start to connect strongly with our guides and inspirers, with our intuitive side, to go through that loop of reducing and then removing the fear of the non-physical beings and the fear of the ways in which they communicate with us, so that we can actually have stronger bonds and better levels of guidance, better conversations, if you like. So Tiliel is asking you to start to think about what it would be like to live in a world where the flow of energy was not fear, where the dominant flow of energy was love, that you loved yourself enough to be able to radiate that outwards, that you loved yourself enough to feel that you could let others have their view, that you didn't need to react in fear to other people's ideas, and that you started to look at things on their merits. He's had a lot of conversations with me this week about not judging, just looking at things and just going, is that a good thing to do? Is it not a good thing to do? Is it good for a lot of people? Good for a few people? We have a planet that is fully prepared to sustain life. It has everything that any human being could require in terms of having a life, having shelter, food, having connection with others. And all our basic root chakra needs can be met by this beautiful planet. Mother Earth is here like a Garden of Eden. What are we doing? Have we thought about that? Have we done anything to change our fear of not having enough? Have we done anything to consider how we're impacting on this earth and the ways in which we scramble to get what we think is absolutely the need of the moment, without any forethought about what the need of the next moment or the moment after that might be? Eteliel is asking you this week to use the positive flow of energy in order to start to have debates with yourself. Get your act together. There's no point in trying to get anybody else's act together. it's not about what anybody else does. It's what about you? What do you do? And not adopting the fear position, which is, oh, nobody else is bothered, so I'm not going to bother. There is so much we can do. We are very powerful creators, manifestors. We are very powerful in being able to mend and repair and innovate in this human form. We've got so much that we can use to change the situation and to change it for the better. So Attilil is asking you to recognize what's inside you, recognize your talents and abilities. We've still got fear running wild in the energy system. Rafe stepped in. We've still got fear. Don't contribute to it. Handle your own fears. Reassure yourself. And where you can't reassure yourself, find out the facts. Facts that you can trust. Ask for evidence. Ask your guides to point you in the right direction so that you can make the best choices for you. We've got a time of choice coming up. It's not long before we hit the full moon. You know, it flies by every fortnight. We're on the cycle of the moon. And that is a wonderful time to set your intentions, to help yourself to work out what it is that you want from your life, and to decide, do you want to choose fear paths or do you want to choose love paths? Love yourself enough to choose the love path if you can over everything else, because the path of fear will just take you downwards into the low vibrational energy. We still have a big job to do with the world, with the global community of human beings, because so many are leading in fear instead of love. The love is there, it's just not percolated to the top yet, and we need to get it to the top. So maybe think about manifesting more love. Think about creating more love. Love for yourself, which can then be shared and reflected outward into love for others. There are still, in the coming week or two, challenging circumstances, challenging world events. As a world, we're struggling with the fear and we're being led by the fear. So when we're led by the fear, events happen that cause us to feel more, or try to get us to feel more fearful. The baddest spin can be put on anything to generate fear. Come out of the fear. Remember, you are an eternal being. Rafe is really wanting you to remind yourself, this life, as you experience it, is a tiny nanosecond of eternity, that there is so much more, and that life does continue after death. I wouldn't be a medium if I didn't actually believe that and have evidence of that. And Rafe knows I have challenged a lot about what, is there an afterlife and what's it all about. Challenged that for a long time before I started to open up to my mediumship. But in those quiet moments, those times when I actually was in a meditative state, when I'd switched off my conscious brain and all of its emotional plugins, that I found the peace for the guides to reassure me, to give me the evidence I needed. So when things are happening this week, try not to throw your hands up and say there's nothing I can do. Try not to say anything in fear. Understand that we're lashing out. Humanity is lashing out. But the only people we're hurting are ourselves. And that Mother Earth needs us to recognise that too. Needs us to understand that we have to change and become the gardeners of the Garden of Eden. We have to change our approach to our lives. Earth is not finished. Humanity is not finished, not by a long shot. We are grappling with fear. Let's learn not to lash out. Let's learn not to shout at ourselves or others, or to be that little toddler or that teenager engaged in those rebellious emotions. I'm a rebel. I've always been a rebel. But I've learned to rebel about what I can do something about, and rebel about the things that to me seem to be at odds in the world. So this week, yes, be a rebel. Be a rebel against fear. Be a rebel who wants to bring unconditional love, forgiveness, gratitude and service into themselves and into the world. Thank you everybody for listening, whether you've watched live on Facebook or YouTube, whether you've watched on catch up. My guides and inspirers really do appreciate the time you give to listen to what they have to say. And I hope that you can use some of their guidance, their information, advice, call it what you will, that you can use some of it to help you to tread lightly through your life. You are being the best you can. You are trying to create the best life for you. But being human isn't easy. So don't feel the fear and react. Feel the fear, and as Susan Jeffers said, do it anyway. Take care everyone, and I'll be back next week, 8:30, fingers crossed. Have a wonderful week everyone, and I'll see you soon. Bye.